What's the craziest butterfly effect that happened to you because of a small decision you made? I sent a friend from secondary school who I had a huge crush on a message saying happy birthday a couple years after we left school. Did the whole "well, have to catch up soon" thing, not expecting much. He replied with "how about Monday?" I saw him that Monday for a coffee. Next month will be our 6th anniversary. Best thing that ever happened to me. Age 21, I visited California when my jaw was broken. Long story, innocent bystander for fight that broke out at a nightclub. I went to the ER and was seen by a top doctor at UCLA to get my mouth wired shut for 10 weeks. Rather than fly home and start treatment at a new hospital, I stayed to finish my treatment. I had my mom pack my car up with as much of my clothing and things and ship it to me. I stayed for 14 years. My entire life changed in an instant from a random punch that wasn't intended for me. Made a last-minute decision to go to a friend's divorce party and met my husband. Was going to carpool with my aunt to a family gathering. At the last minute I decided to go by myself, so I could leave early if I wanted. It was a ways out of town and I didn't want to be stuck there. On the way there she drove off the road into a ditch. She was okay, but the passenger side of her car was totally smashed in. I made a dumb Facebook post because I was bored, like for a TBH. A boy liked the post and I sent him a message. 8 years later, we are now married. Right before freshman year of high school, I was interested in trying out for the tennis team. I was lukewarm about it, and the morning of tryouts my dad came into the room and asked if I wanted to go. I was leaning towards no and just wanted to be lazy in bed, but my dad asked, "Do you think you'll regret it if you don't?" The answer was yes, so I went and tried out. I ended up meeting my absolute best friends, rekindled my love for tennis, was on varsity for 3 years, and it completely dictated my high school career. My friends took me to Malaga in Spain for a long weekend to cheer me up after my mum died, and 4 years later I'm still here and have never been happier. I owe them everything for that spontaneous trip. I decided to wear a red shirt instead of a blue one and ended up meeting my future spouse, because they complimented my bold fashion choice. Talk about a butterfly effect. About a year ago, I went to a study group with some people in my major. Now I have the closest set of friend I could ever ask for. They helped me when my car was broken and I couldn't get to and fro from college, when I didn't have enough money to buy myself food. Now, I have a good job, and 2 of my friends and I are getting an apartment together in a couple of months. Years ago a mate and I were working at a call center. It was a rough job mentally, and he and I made sure to have dinner at our favorite pho place every Friday. Oh, by the way, he asked me one Friday afternoon, as we headed across the parking lot, "The new chick who started this week is a real good mate of mine. Mind if I invite along tonight?" I didn't really know her, but said yeah mate, no worries. Anyway, that new girl and I have been together for 9 years now, and just celebrated our 5th wedding anniversary. I was in college and feeling really alone one night, so I started watching YouTube videos from an aviation channel I've always enjoyed. He had his flight simulator connected to an online network where you can fly in real time and have people act as air traffic controllers for you. It was fascinating, so I signed up for the ATC side of it. Now, 3 years later, I'm an actual air traffic controller about to graduate from the training academy, and most of my friends are from that network that I decided to join on a whim on a cold and lonely November evening in my dorm. Once I decided to take a different route home and ended up at this random coffee shop, met my now best friend there like wild, right? On a dating app I put the name of a town that has a cool name instead of the town I lived in. Forgot I did that, but met my now husband of 11 years. His best friend's family founded the town and gave it the cool name. Had they named it anything else, I would have just used the town I lived in. August, graduated from college and couldn't find a decent job. I had changed my mind at the last minute about what I wanted to do. My original plan involved attending a graduate program for that career. September-November, worked a variety of temp and permanent jobs that I was ill-suited for. December, attended a Christmas party with my longtime boyfriend held by an acquaintance of ours. We didn't know most of the people at the party, so I was bored. I ended up sitting next to someone who has attending graduate school for library science. I asked her why she was doing that and she sounded like she was describing me to a T. January, I applied to graduate school in library science and co-signed a lease with my boyfriend on an apartment together, so I could afford to attend graduate school part-time while working full-time. I told my boyfriend that I wasn't comfortable living with him if we didn't have a future together. February, he proposed on the 4th anniversary of our first date. We hadn't been talking about getting engaged. Now, we've been married for 22 years next month and have 2 teenagers. My first week of college, my roommate said his job at a restaurant was having problems getting people to work on Thursday nights. Mostly college students worked there and Thursday was party night. I said I would do it and he brought me in for an interview. Got hired and worked there for 4 years until I graduated. After I graduated, I moved cross-country to California. I was in a bar having something to eat one afternoon and started talking to a guy sitting next to me. He had also worked at the same restaurant back on the East Coast just prior to my starting there. Basically had my job just prior to my getting hired there. We became friends and he introduced me to his ex, who was also from the same town I went to college back east. Me and his ex got along pretty good. I had never wanted to get married or have children. She convinced me to do both. Was married to her for 14 years and have 5 kids. Weird how it worked out. I got a new job, but the place I was meant to start at hadn't finished being built, so I got placed elsewhere temporarily. I settled in very well and didn't want to leave, so I spoke to management about staying at the home permanently, to which they agreed. I met my best friend here and he is now my husband. Forever grateful. Saw her in college. Was walking to the library to study. I usually took one specific route, but for some reason, I decided to take a different route that takes you past a few restaurants, bars with outdoor seating. A girl I met a few weeks before at a club was at one of the bars. She yelled out my name and asked why I hadn't called her. I told her I lost her number. In actuality, I just didn't have the guts. BC, I thought she was way out of my league. I called her later that evening. We've been married now for 25 years. Decided to be roommate with Bill. Bill flunked out and I got a rando. I never slept at my dorm and ended up finding the love of my life. Got her pregnant and moved in with her. She helped me finish school with a 4.0 and get an internship. She helped me apply to jobs and now I have 3 kids, own my own home, have an amazing job, and my son just started college last week. Hurt my left quad in soccer camp right before high school tryouts. Didn't make the cut. Hung out with other people instead. Those people did tech theater stuff, so I did tech theater stuff. Kept doing it through college, dropped out of college to keep doing tech work. Ended up doing lots of live events and switched to audio work and did audio engineering and systems design. Realized that everyone around me got hearing loss. Went back to school and finished 2 bachelors and a doctorate in audiology. Am now Dr. Butterscotch. Went to a wedding as a groomsman's +1 and they also brought their fiancé, who I had no idea he had. Frantic to get out of a very awkward situation, I looked around and saw a friend of a friend and decided I needed to go talk to him. Knew him enough to know his face, but not his name. Ended up exchanging numbers and hanging out the rest of the reception. We will be married 7 years in May.